get started here in a minute. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining. Just 1 second while I can get them in.
Good evening. How are you guys doing?
Doing good.
I am siding with Ethan today and wearing an orange shirt. I usually, as a Wisconsin guy, I don't wear an orange shirt, but I had to be a
ILL.
honorary Illinoisan today and wear orange.
I love that. So a lot to talk about this week. You ready to get into it?
Let's go for it. Yeah.
I mean, it is show choir season, and there's just nothing else to say besides that, right? Welcome everyone to episode number 5 of Show Choir Nation. Crazy to think that we are a month into the season already, and that some groups have competed 4 times, which is kind of wild. I don't know if there are too many of those out there, but there are definitely a couple 4 comp groups out there. I am William, to my top is Ethan, and to my side is Adam, who we decided to bring on with a more permanent frequency after his guest hosting last week. We had some things shift, and so Adam is going to be a regular member of our team now. If you're watching on Instagram Live, obviously you're watching live, but I just want everyone to know that this podcast is also available on Spotify and YouTube. And so if you're listening on Spotify, it would really help if you could give this show a rating so that it would pop up in the algorithm more often. And if you're on YouTube, pop a subscribe because we definitely have more content coming than just the podcast on YouTube. All right, folks. Quick opening segment here. If you had to describe last Saturday show choir wise in one word, how would you describe it?
Oh man, unpredictable. I think it's pretty unpredictable. I mean, besides a few wins that we thought were coming some ways and some placements and some captions, some things were just like you couldn't predict what happened. I would just go with predictable.
I'm going to go with
Unpredictable,
that.
sorry.
Oh,
Unpredictable.
yeah. I'm going to go with that. And actually, I'm going to say good surprises would be good surprises is the best way for me to put last week's events. Yeah.
All right, well, that's 2 words, but we're gonna let it slide because we have a comment in the chat that says Adams are usually pretty good at show choir podcasts. That's coming from a 3-season show choir podcast host himself, Adam Peters. So we'll let 2 words go because Adams are good at this, I guess. My word is just going to be chaotic because kind of echoing what both of you said in a slightly different fashion. I mean, in the way that Bradley Davis said it in his podcast that came out last night. Like, we had Titan slaying things in the South, in the Midwest, kind of just all over. And so we're going to dive right into that. Our first competition of the week that we are going to touch on for results. Another quick comment in the chat. Have we talked about Sauk Prairie? We will probably touch on Sauk Prairie a little bit around 6:30. So stay tuned for that. But right now we're talking about Tallassee, Alabama. And so Tallassee held their Capital City Classic this past Friday and Saturday. So in the large mixed in Alabama, we had Auburn Varsity Singers taking home Best Vocals, Best Choreo, and Best Show Design, followed by Homework the Network and Opelika Ovations. In the middle mixed, we had Vestavia Hills Singers taking home Best Vocals and Best Choreography, Tips County 8th Street Singing Company with Best Show Design, Hoover Paradigm in 3rd place, and Lakeside Sound Station in 4th place. In small mixed, we've got Oxford Sound taking home Best Vocals, Best Choreo, and Best Show Design. And then Helena High Frequency, Chelsea Out of the Blue, and Pell City Showstoppers. In the women's division, Homewood Nexus taking home the division win, followed by Auburn Elan, Tift County Ladies Choice, and Opelika Impressions. And then in the men's division, Tift County Tiftosterone taking home the win over Auburn Men at Work. Folks, Adam and I got on Ethan pretty hard for saying that Auburn was going to win last week. Ethan, take the floor.
Well, yeah, I was gonna start off by saying I caught a lot of slack last show, but but it's all from a good place. That's what we love about competitions like these. You never know what's going to happen, especially with two fantastic schools. So, coming in, like I said, I thought Auburn was going to take it. But I didn't think they were going to sweep at all. And looking back, Homewood last year, they only let up one caption, I believe, in their region besides nationals, and I think it was at this competition too. So it was kind of surprising to see them walk out with none. But again, congrats to Auburn. It's a resume win. It's great to have one very early in the season. If you're going to get a top group, get it early in the season for sure. And then one of my favorite parts, I think, I know, my favorite part of this competition might be the middle mixed. And like you touched on a little bit, was Tift County going down to, middle
Middle mix.
mixed?
Yes. Mixed, yeah.
Middle mix. Okay, so they went down to middle mix, and I don't know if it's because of numbers or I'm not really tapped into tip like that. But what I love about the South and their middle mix is how competitive it is always with Spain Park, the Vista Hills, and Hoover. So even seeing a talented group like Tift County who went down a level and see them not win just proves that that division is as or can be as tough as Tier 1.
Yeah, and so the divisions in the South are because of group sizes. So you're right, that is a numbers thing. But I think the thing that we don't know is whether it was a group size change by necessity for Tift, or if they purposefully chose to go with a quality over quantity strategy. So I don't think we'll ever know that. I think that's a private decision that you make. But definitely, yeah, Spain Park was also supposed to be in this middle mixed division too. They wound up dropping a little bit before, so that would have just even been more chaotic. Adam, couple thoughts from you?
Yeah, absolutely. I like a lot of people, and this isn't the only time where we were going through Southern competitions last week and ended up being a little bit surprised here. Oh, that's interesting. I just read a comment that said Tiff's director is retiring this year.
I have thoughts, but I'll get to those after
Okay,
you.
I got you. So yeah, it's interesting to see that movement there, and I think if anything, that says more about Auburn than it does about Homewood. Homewood has been a fantastic group. They gained a lot of notoriety last year from their performance at nationals, and I don't think at all this is a diss on them, but more so a big win for Auburn and a good sign that things are heating up. It's going to be a great season in the South, like it is everywhere. And we said a lot last week, no panic buttons on the first week of our season. So, I think it's exciting. It's a little bit of healthy competition there, and I'm really excited to see where that goes.
Yeah, so I'm just going to touch on a couple notes from Tallassee first, and then we'll talk about Scott Rains retiring at the end of this year. We'll do a little impromptu segment for that. The biggest thing for me were the single gender divisions here. In women's, I think a lot of people thought that Auburn-La was going to take home the win. Homewood Nexus showed up in a pretty big way. The last time Nexus beat Elan was in 2021 at Oak Mountain. Granted, that was during the COVID year, so you have to go back to 2015 at Jackson Prep to find a time that Homewood beat Auburn-La in a non-COVID year. And then in the men's division, you had Tift County coming out on top. Auburn Men at Work had a win streak dating back to before the pandemic in men's divisions. And guess who the last men's group to beat them was? Tift County at Tallassee in 2020. So it's just kind of everything old is new again. And, sometimes I balk at a lot of divisions at a competition. But in this one, I think the results played out okay. We can celebrate a lot of different programs. Auburn winning this competition for like the 7th time in 9 years. Homewood coming out on top in the women's division, Tift coming out on top in the men's division. So all of these bigger programs are having some success. We did see no Enterprise and no Spain Park. Those were a couple of late drops. But still, I think it was plenty eventful enough. Based off this comment that Scott Rains is retiring at the end of the season, I think that's news to all three of us. And he's definitely a Southern show choir directing legend. And specifically, I would say he's one of the most prominent figures in Georgia show choir history. He started the program at Albertville around the turn of the century, and Albertville in Alabama was a really good program for a long time. He left Albertville to bring a show choir program to Tift County, in 2014, in the summer of 14. And Tift County has, by and large, been Georgia's best group for most of that decade. And so they also have a women's group, Ladies' Choice, and a men's group, Tiptosterone, and he's definitely going to be missed. Tift County also runs, I believe, this year, Georgia's only show choir invitational. So he definitely leaves a lot of a legacy behind, and I hope that whoever the next one up is at Tift, that they will keep the show choir program going as Scott Rains had it. Any thoughts from you guys, or is it still a little soon to kind of comment on that?
It is a little soon, but of course he will be missed. I know Tift County, they've always been very solid down in or down south, so it'll definitely be a miss for Tift County and for the South.
Yeah, it's interesting. Again, it was, like it was to you too. I had no idea, but I'm interested to see where that takes us. There's been plenty of movement in that program, like we talked about this year, in terms of size, and I'm curious to see where else that goes.
Yeah, and moving from the South over to the Plains, we are going to talk about the Lincoln East Spartan Spectacular for a few minutes now. Final results of this one: Lincoln Southwest Resonance coming out on top, best vocals, best choreography, best band. First runner-up Millard West, West in the Groove. Second runner-up Pius X Spectrum. Third runner-up Norris Gold. Fourth runner-up Elkhorn South Blackout. Fifth runner-up Sioux City East, the headliners. Thoughts, reactions? I think a lot of it's going to be around one group.
Yeah, hey, that's three. That's three. So Lincoln Southwest is right now, they're the choir. They're the choir to beat. Currently, I feel like they're the first choir to 3 wins, if I'm not wrong. I believe so was Cody-La, which we'll talk about that. They ended up getting second. But all props to them. They beat some really good groups so far. And it's gonna be interesting to see how they go down the road, which I said last week too, because this is a big win. But one thing I want to touch on is Lincoln, or not Lincoln. Shoot, sorry. What was I gonna say? My bad, guys. Oh, Soy City.
Sioux City.
Sioux City. That's another one of my
It's okay. That's Native American tribal language, not French. We'll keep working Duolingo with you.
Thank you. Hey, I need to take Spanish in a few semesters anyway, so don't worry about me on that. But the program's kind of fallen off since I believe like 2016 a little bit. I believe they have over like 12 wins in the spans of when they had an old director, which was I believe it was Tom Hales.
Yep.
Hales. Thank you. But and I know COVID changes a lot, and I know he left after COVID, and a new director comes in, and I know there's a lot of circumstances which changes with having COVID and of course change of director. But seeing where they are now, I feel like the new director only has like 1 win in this time, and that 1 win was over, like, I looked it up. I think it was Westwood Reveliers, in which they're a really good group for their size and where they're from, because I know they are in like tier 2s and tier 3s. So that is a good choir to beat, but only 1 win in the span of, I think this is his 3rd season. Seeing him get a 6th place finish is kind of worrisome to me, because all these choirs now after COVID are kind of on that rise, and I just don't think that they're quite there yet. But again, it's their first competition, so a lot can happen in a year. But I only bring this up because this program was once so prominent, and it's a program I personally care about. So, any thoughts on that?
Adam, I know it's usually your turn, but I'm going to cut in here real quick.
Go ahead.
I'm going to say this is not the time to press the panic button on Sioux City East. Tom Hales obviously had that group at a really high level for a long, long time, right? Kind of in a weird place in between Sioux Falls and Omaha, and not really a ton of other show choirs in the immediate vicinity that are on their level. Jeremy Hess came in from Cameron, Missouri, and like you said, this is his 3rd season. And I'm going to say that Sioux City East is going to be just fine. Because last year their first competition was at Sioux Falls Jefferson. They didn't make finals, and I think a lot of people pushed the panic button on them then. You know what? They came back to Bloomington Kennedy last year. They recorded a very solid, I believe, 3rd place, and they were a little bit streaky after that. But they were a consistent finals group for the rest of the year, and so I think that Sioux City East will be fine. Adam, any thoughts from you?
Well, this is obviously very, very competitive finals here. We were watching this comp not only because of what a great season Rez has had, and again, I'm not unique in that I'm really excited to see that continue. But also all the other groups who are featured up here in finals are tremendous. I mean, for Elkhorn South and Sioux City East to be like the cutoff is is really, really exciting. And I'm sure this would have been a fun one to sit in on and watch.
Yeah, for sure. A couple miscellaneous notes to wrap this one up here. Lincoln Southwest, just a final note on them. Their 3 wins this year is the most ever in program history for a single year,
Oh, wow.
and we're not out of January yet. However, their next 2 competitions are very tough. They're next at Norris on February 24th. There they will go against Lincoln East, Papio South, and Ankeny Centennial. And so that's going to be a killer lineup. And then their final competition of the year is Wheaton-Warrenville South. And even though we don't have a confirmed list of groups that are going to Wheaton-Warrenville South, everyone's just
It's
going to
going to
be
be a
fighting.
bloodbath. Yeah.
It's
Yep.
gonna be its own show.
Yeah, I want to shout out Pius because Pius changed over to a new director and a new choreographer last year. Edgar Estrada came in as director. Braxton Carr came in as choreographer. I saw them at the UNL Midwest Cup last year, and they were super duper impressive. I believe they were the 5th place show at UNL last year, but I still found it very exciting. We've talked about Norris a couple of times on this podcast already, and Pius just came out and beat Norris. And so Pius is a group that had 1.5 grand championships last year. And based off of this placement, I would definitely expect them to keep making waves and potentially even start knocking on those upper echelons of the Lincoln scene. Just a recap of the lower tier divisions as well. Elkhorn South Shockwave took home the win in the women's division, and then Millard West Swing Cats took home the prep division. So a couple of wins for Millard West, who, no captions, quiet second place. West in the Groove is going to be just fine this year as well. Nothing's changed there. Zach Bjornsson is still heading an incredible ship. So even though we didn't talk about Millard West, their day will come. Moving on to another Nebraska competition, we're going to go to Omaha Westside here. Johnston Innovation taking the win, best vocals and best choreography. Papio South Titanium second with best band. 3rd through 6th, Mitchell Friendicu, Omaha South The Ambassadors, Grand Island Ultimate Image, and Papio South Titan Radiance. Ethan, what do we think?
So Johnson came out of the gate swinging, and I mean, the majority of us thought that would happen. They always put on great shows, especially early in the season. I feel like unless they're going up against one of their neighboring giants that they usually go up against, but came out of the gate swinging. Pop South got second, or yeah, Papio South got second after I thought was kind of like a surprising 4th place finish at Millard West. But again, the way that comp turned out, it kind of seemed like a bloodbath in its own certain way. So they've definitely been working on the show. And then everyone's worrying about Mitchell. Don't worry about Mitchell. I believe this is the 3rd year in a row where they haven't won their first competition. But if you look after that, I think it's 7 grand championships after they don't win in the past 2 years combined. So don't worry about Mitchell. Nick McGraw is an incredible director, and I expect them to come out swinging at their next competitions. So don't worry about Mitchell.
Yeah, for sure. And if anyone chat knows, Mitchell, I saw some pictures from the show. I didn't see a video, but I saw a giant life-size corn on the cob. So I'm really, really curious as to what happened there. But no, the best closer caption is a sign that it was definitely tight between those top 3 groups, all very formidable. In all representing different states respectively too, which is cool. I saw Johnston in their debut at their exhibition performance back at Showzam last week, and they were tremendous as always. So it's exciting to see them get out and get some competitive action in to start the season off.
Yeah, and a couple of final notes to tie this one out together. The top 3 groups all took home 1 award for best individual number. And so Johnston, I believe, had best ballad. Papio South had best closer, and Mitchell had best opener. I believe, have not seen any photos of Mitchell. I do know that the South Dakota Corn Palace is located in Mitchell. So if I had to take a bet on what a life-size corn stalk would be, it would be because the Corn Palace is in Mitchell. It's on my bucket list of American icons to go visit someday.
No doubt.
And then also Papio South Titan Radiance takes home the win in a monster, I think 6 or 7 choir women's division. and also the last final spot as well, beginning out varsity groups from Ralston and St. Thomas Aquinas to get there as well. We're going to go into the upper Midwest now for our final comp of the week. And this one, I think, might get a little bit heated between the three of us. This is the Bloomington Kennedy Gold recap. We've got Ankeny Visual Adrenaline with the win and best choreography. Waconia Power Company, second place, no captions. Hastings Riverside Company, third place, best vocals, best band. Papillion-La Vista Free Spirit, fourth place. Bloomington Jefferson Connection, fifth place. Ankeny Perpetual Motion, sixth place. I'm going to let the foolish observers here recount how wrong they were.
Okay. You want me to say it? I'm sorry for doubting you, Will.
Thank you.
My apologies. So if you weren't here on the pod last week, Will tried to warn us about this steamboat of Ankeny that's just coming straight through the Midwest and how they're on the uprise. We didn't laugh at him, but we were like, okay, Will might be a little crazy on this one. But congratulations to Ankeny, of course. This was a fantastic win for them. They beat at the time, undefeated Waconia, and which is a huge win over them because they were on a roll. And then they also beat a tough Papillion Free Spirit. But I like to think about Hastings, which they came up in third place with best vocals and best band. I think I originally had them winning, but end all be all, they had an amazing outing, grabbing best vocals and best band, especially for the first competition. And seeing those captions, I know they probably didn't think that they would get that placement, but that just shows how great of a competition this was. But again, congrats, Will. You're ahead of the trend. And you put it out there. I'll let you bask in this one. Adam, your turn.
Yeah. So we got two Kevin Chase groups up in the top here, Ankeny and Waconia respectively. And although I predicted a Hastings win this week, again, two words I started off with here were good surprises. So I'm really happy to see it. We see, especially after the program split, there's been, I think, a lot of talk about Spectrum in the past couple of years, more so than Visual Adrenaline. And I'm really, really happy to see this. And, both programs are rocking this year. I don't know if anyone saw Ankeny's exhibition performance. And
I haven't.
I didn't catch them this last week, but I know it was a Schitt's Creek show. And so it looked really fun, really cool. But again, all the groups making finals here, great. It was nice to see Perpetual Motion actually squeeze in here above Fort Atkinson. So that was cool too. Lots of good stuff, but man, this isn't my celebration here. This is Ankeny's, and this is also kind of Will's. So
in all honesty, I was tipped that Ankeny was going to be great this year, so I can't take full credit to that. But Visual Adrenaline coming out here, and I look at this competition and these groups in pretty much a similar light that I see Omaha Westside in, where you have three great groups. You have Ankeny, Waconia, and Hastings, and one of them is starting their season, and that is Mitchell at Omaha Westside and Hastings here. And both groups took home third place out of the big three. Definitely not cause for panic either. I think the question is, does this competition play out differently if Hastings gets out of the gate at Sioux Falls Jefferson? Perhaps it does, but we're not going to ruminate on that. I think it's just an interesting little side tangent there. Just a quick note about Ankeny and Ankeny Centennial. Ankeny Centennial, as Adam said, does have the Schitt's Creek show. They did actually take show design away from Lynn Marr this week at Cedar Rapids Prairie, and that's not on the show sheet at all. It's just something I looked at, and I'm like, wow. I didn't even know that before this podcast episode, but I'm like, we've talked about Lynn Marr's show this year, and I'm like, you've got to have a great show design to nab that caption off of Lynn Marr. Ankeny and Ankeny Centennial are not going to see each other on the competition trail at all this year. I don't think it helps when each group is only competing 4 times instead of the 5 or 6 that we see for some other kind of regional powers here. Because in all honesty, like Adam said, a lot of the attention post-split has gone to Centennial. And I think that Ankeny is just starting to get back to where I think we would have a really competitive crosstown matchup. I do believe that they were super duper close and they met once last year. I believe Visual Adrenaline might have even come out on top in that one. Don't quote me on that. Don't know where that was or what the placings exactly were. I think it might have been a 2-3 or a 3-4 somewhere. But yeah, Adam, as a Wisconsin guy, I hate to see Fort Atkinson miss out on finals. But ultimately, like you said, it's a great step in the right direction for Ankeny, both on the top and the bottom of finals. All right. Now is the meat and potatoes and title segment of this episode, and that is we had upsets. We had lots of upsets. So I think we have 3 comps listed on the show sheet that we categorize as major upsets. And so I'll list out all 3 and then we can kind of go from there. We're going to go with Iowa to start out with. We're going to see Iowa City 4th Avenue Jazz Company taking home the win over Cedar Rapids, Washington Momentum at Anamosa. Then we're going to go to Indiana and ETC, the All-Americans, winning over Loveland and Hurricane at Northrop. And we're going to go down to Mississippi for our third one. Jackson Academy takes vocals and choreo from Brandon at Jackson Prep. Which one of these is the biggest? Which one is the most intriguing? Thoughts?
Well, my first thought is on Jackson Academy's win over Brandon. Jackson Academy is now in their 2nd season with Garrett Lindsay at the helm being director. And I just put it on showchoir.com, but this is the first time that Sam Mulligan will be who did their whole show. Former MTZ grad, so shout out there to Sam Mulligan. I think this program's moving in the right direction. They used to always be in tough battles, especially with prep. Them in prep always used to be up there, Jackson Preparatory. And to see them come out and shock Brandon Brio, that's huge. This a win like this can almost make them a national contender again. I also just really quick, I'm not surprised by ETC. ETC does, I feel like, does this every single year, and at the other competition. I feel like they owe like what originally was round 2 of Hurricane and Loveland somehow became the ETC show, which I'm not even like I said, I'm not even surprised. It feels like they do this every year. They always win a comp that no one thinks they can, and they always prove people wrong. And ETC is like a little giant, if that makes any sense to you guys.
Yeah. I think there's definitely something to be said about the interesting nature of the program over at ETC. Definitely not your standard setup for a lot of these other groups here on this list. I'm sure a lot of people's eyes are on Jackson Academy right now, and like you said, I love Sammy's doing all sorts of cool stuff this year. So good things happening there, and then finally Iowa City. And when I saw that come up, I went forward and looked through Iowa City over the past couple of years, and this year they don't even have a choreographer listed under their showchoir.com section. And so I was curious if maybe just no one had put one in or there wasn't a lot of talk about it, but it's cool to see their name up there.
Yeah, I was actually going to gravitate towards Iowa City High, and that's mainly because I saw Cedar Rapids, Washington earlier this year at Holman, and I was very impressed with the caliber of Cedar Rapids, Washington's show. And so I'm like, look, if Iowa City High is out here beating Cedar Rapids, I'm like, that definitely has to mean something, right? And Iowa City and Iowa City West, I think, fly under the radar a little bit because they're 2 schools from, a college town in Iowa and things like that. And they are kind of in that low A, high B tier for Iowa show choir. And a lot of times I think City High and West High generally have shows that are about the same. But 4AJC definitely told everyone that they are here and they are here to stay. And they'll be at, I believe, Waukee Northwest this weekend and maybe one other one a little bit later on this year where they'll have some tough battles, definitely. But, to me, that's the biggest one. You can talk about Jackson Academy ad nauseum. I think they've always just been right on that doorstep of being great. And also ETC, I mean, both the All-Americans and Rouge showed last year that they are, no slouches either. City High, looking back on it, I believe they were one of the first groups that made Lexi Robson Buglewitz like a sensation. I believe it was City High that did a moon show a few years ago, either 20 or 21 maybe. And that was like really a trademark Lexi Robson show before she was doing, 1 in every 3 great choirs in this country. So those are three big upsets. And then we're going to roll to some sort of quote unquote semi upsets here that I have down on the show sheet. So first off, we have Noblesville in a split caption win over Plainfield at Ball State in Ball State's first competition since 2004. I have Solon over Grove City and Piqua at Findlay. So that one, not involving two groups, just three. And then we also have West Jones getting a sweep over Northwest Rankin at South Jones, and Davenport Central taking a split caption win over Prairie at Davenport North, or maybe it was Valley. It was Valley because Prairie was hosting their own competition this past weekend. I apologize. I put that wrong in the show sheet for my co-hosts. So Davenport Central picked up a split caption win over Valley at Davenport North. Four comps here. Don't have a ton of time left in this segment. So what are we thinking for these kind of semi-upsets?
Yeah, just a little spiel on it. I think Davenport Central might be the most underrated choir in the country the past 3 or so years. They always go out and they always perform very great. Now on the national stage, they don't always come out on the results wise, probably like what they want. But regionally, they're so dominant, and that's just my 2 cents on Davenport Central winning the split capture over Valley.
Yeah, no, cool stuff here. I was at Ball State, competing this past weekend, and I actually was surprised. I kind of thought Carroll would come out of the picture there, but really cool to see how tight it was too. Coming from someone who competed that weekend, from Plainfield's group, we were behind by less than a point from first place, so it was similarly close from third place as well. So really tight competition, and it's super cool to see Ball State back in action. And I will apologize. I added Solon to the show sheet a little while ago because it was their first win since 4 years ago at Medina, or Medina, if that's correct. But definitely think that's cool to see.
Yeah, okay. So I think I'm just going to give up on Ohio pronunciations for today because all
I
of
know
these
Pika is.
they have all of these vowels, and I'm like, you know what,
I
whatever.
think it's
I'm gonna
Medina. I think
yeah,
it's Medina.
yeah. We'll do some phonetic research, and we'll come back next week, being better read and better
Yeah.
pronounced. So that's
O-
our
Off season, we should have our own episode where it's us just trying to pronounce things. I think that's a great
That
off
can be a
season
special
episode.
segment. We'll put that in there. We'll get that in there.
Yeah.
I'm actually gonna go. I'm gonna go down south here. My semi upset. I'm gonna go West Jones over Northwest Rankin. NWR, I think for good reason, has had a lot of hype in the South recently. They have moved up from middle mix to large mix. They've added a women's group. They've added a men's group, for goodness sakes. Someone finally to compete with Auburn and Tift in the South. So, I can see why a lot of people were picking Northwest Rankin here. West Jones just has this absolutely legendary streak of vocal captions going on. They're the group that's in third place with best vocals. And West Jones has had a reputation as a great singing group for a long time. I don't know if a lot of people would have picked them to take home choreography here, but they have been a consistent force, especially at South Jones for a while, and I believe they'll go to Mississippi State this weekend. And as long as they can tackle Biloxi, I think they're in for 2 wins in a row. So we're going to move on to a type of show choir, or a segment of the show choir season that I don't think gets enough recognition. And so I was the one that put this segment on the show sheet. Sorry. So we're going to head over to small school competition season. And so obviously we enjoy talking about our California Big Three and our top Indianapolis groups and our top Iowa groups and whatever. But I just wanted to take a few minutes here to shout out a few of the kind of smaller competitions and give these groups a moment in the spotlight. So first off, we've got the inaugural North Royalton Showdown in Ohio. And so Medina Encore Entertainment Company picked up this one along with Best Vocals. Herbert Hoover High Impact from West Virginia, second place, Best Choreography, Best Band. Garfield Heights Music Express in third. Sheridan Northern Stars in fourth. Strongsville Mustang Express in fifth. And Taze Valley Glamorous Edition, their girls group, in sixth.
That one's going in the pronunciation list as well.
Yeah. Taze Valley, something Valley. I don't know. And then the next one is at Altoona Locopalooza. And so this one, Toma Limited Edition took home Best Choreography. And that is also wins 2 weeks in a row for Toma. They beat North St. Paul Northern Lights, who took home Best Vocals, and then Totino Grace Company of Singers, Eau Claire Memorial Old Abe Show Choir, South St. Paul Southside Sensation, and St. Francis Bridge Street Singers. And the last one that I had on this list, Hastings Uncaged, the Nebraska one, took home Best Choreo and Best Band over pretty much the entire field at Glenwood. I don't know if there was really a true predict the winner thing coming in here. Des Moines Christian was second with Best Vocals, Millard South third, Dallas Center Grimes fourth, Lincoln High fifth, and Elkhorn Excel sixth. Of those three, do any stand out?
I saw Medina's show in 2020, so it was one of my favorite shows that season. So I was very lucky to see it live, and I'm glad that they got some hardware back. They're always a great choir. They're one of the nicest choirs I think I've ever met. Um, so congratulations, Medina, and then Toma. I got flock fever, Will. I don't know about you, man, but I got flock fever. You've seen the show live. I can't wait to see the Popeye show. Yeah, congratulations, Toma.
So real quick, I won't spend too long on the first one or the second one here because I know the second one is definitely something Will would know a little bit more about. But if you haven't seen the Dyna's 2020 show, it's fantastic. Go check it out. Super cool theme, great choir. But I actually do want to talk about the third one that we talked about here, which is Hastings. And I actually did expect Des Moines Christian to take home both captions here. I felt pretty solid in that, and I actually think I had predicted Hastings as the third runner-up. But along with the theme for today, good surprises, and I'm happy to see that at least one of the Hastings groups won this week because I got my prediction wrong on the other one.
Yeah, there we go. I mean, I'll talk about Altoona a little bit, just as somebody that is based in Wisconsin. This is one of Altoona's largest fields in a long time. I think they had probably close to 15 choirs there on the whole, and a lot of years they're kind of floating in that 10 to 12 mark. So it's great to see the overall field at Altoona get bigger. As for Toma, they picked up Best Vocals en route to the win at New London last week. They got Best Choreo this week en route to the win at New London. North St. Paul, second place with a caption. Shout out our graphics guy, Demir Perry, who is a member of Northern Lights. So, yeah, I mean, Toma honestly is growing very fast from a small school to one that a lot of programs in Wisconsin have to take very, very seriously. So congratulations to them. I also wanted to talk about Glenwood, that competition a little bit. First off, Glenwood Fastlane as a program, I'm very happy to see them continuing after their longtime director, Kevin Kilpatrick, left. At the end of this year, he's now no longer in the teaching profession entirely. And I think I actually might have had Millard South taking home the win in this one of my predictions. I think I had it split caption with Des Moines Christian, but Hastings was a very pleasant surprise to me. Their director, Christian Yost, I actually had a college class with his brother Carter my freshman year of college. So I have this like insanely weird tie to the Hastings program. But this is their second overall grand championship. They won one back when John Marquez, who is Lincoln Northwest's director now, was there in like 2017 or 2018. And then Lincoln High making finals. They are under the relatively new direction of Colton McCauley. They expanded to two choirs this year, and not just a mixed and a women's, but they've got two mixed groups this year. So Lincoln High is another group that I think is on the rise. And then Millard South and Dallas Center Grimes are groups that kind of get overlooked, perhaps like largest school size, but perhaps not as large of a choir program. So good to see them get some opportunities here as well. Any final thoughts? Because we've still got 30 seconds left in this segment, guys. We're running short on time.
No, yeah. There's a comment that said this was Toma's first choreo in history. So congratulations to Toma, to both Bins.
Awesome.
The best choreographers named Bins. I don't know
Oh,
where else that is, but
Ben
congratulations,
Upland.
Ben Trenick. Yeah, and Ben Eklund. So congratulations to you guys.
All right. So it is 6:40 now, which means that we are going to move on to the preview portion of today's episode. We've got 4 comps of the week, and we will have a wild card vote for the 5th. So watch our Instagram and our X for that. Tomorrow poll will drop tomorrow morning and run through Wednesday morning. Our first one, we're going to head right back down to Mississippi. We've talked about them a couple times this week, but one of my picks for overall comps of the year is the Jackson Academy Show Choir Invitational. In the super large division, Brandon Brio, Grenada Visions, Homewood, The Network, and Madison Central Reveille.
Wow.
In the large division, Jackson Prep, Revion, and Northwest Rankin, the Ambassadors. And then a few middle mixed and small mixed groups in there as well. But a massive single gender group field here. Brandon Bellas, Homewood, Nexus, Madison Central Renown, Northwest Rankin, the Allure and the Ambition, and Tupelo Synergy. 5 finalist spots up for grabs throughout all divisions. First of all, who makes it into finals? Second of all, who comes out on top?
Well, that's a great question. Well, as you know, well, first off, of course, you look at the 2 headliners, and it's Brandon Brio and Homewood, of course. And this is what we call a get back comp. It's 2 groups who are not particularly pleased with the results last weekend, probably. And they're wanting to get back. One of these choirs is going to walk out what we think would be 1-1, and the other one's going to walk out 0-2. And that goes a long way in the South. If you start off your season 0-2 down there, you don't have a lot of chances to get your rep up in that region, as you may not go up against that many people. So yeah, it's to get back on, but I gotta say, I can see one of these other talented groups coming in and stealing the show. They've seen that these groups are beatable. So hope and motivation can go a long way. We all know that. Like, if you have hope and motivation, you can almost beat anyone. You feel like you can beat anyone, and you know that will go a long way for them. But I think I'm just gonna do the prediction. You ready?
Ooh.
I think GC will be Brandon Brio, and then we're gonna go down the list. We're gonna go Homewood, The Network, and then we're gonna go Tupelo Synergy, and then here is your single gender winner, the Bellas. They're gonna be in the 4th spot. I heard that they had a fantastic show at Homewood, or not Homewood, but at Tallassee, and I heard they give a lot of groups a run for their money, even large mix. So I have them in my 4th spot, and then I'll give Grenada, if I'm saying that right, the 5th, and then Madison Central is going to round it out for me.
Only 5 finalists.
Oh, then sorry, Madison Central. I feel bad. Honorable mention, Madison Central. They can sneak in the finals with 5.
You're not revving it up? No Madison Central?
I'm not revving this one up.
No Jackson Prep Revion either. You're not revving it up at all.
No revs.
No revs. The thing is, though, is like the Bellas, man. I've been hearing a lot of good things about the Bellas this year.
Adam.
Oh, this is tough because my eyes right now are on the Univoice division right now, and I'm looking. Of course, Tupelo always brings in that division, and I'm also excited to see the Bellas come off. I don't know where I saw it, but I saw someone actually compare them to Brio this year, in that they were very similar in how they would compete, not in a finals division, but in their own division respectively. And I'm also hesitant to not include Homewood's Nexus after their really good showing this past week. But I do think we will see Tupelo and Tupelo and Brandon make finals, which is, saying a lot with how competitive the mixed division is here. And I'm gonna kind of side with you here on this one, Ethan. I like Brandon with a sweep, Homewood, and I'm actually gonna put Grenada above the Univoice groups here, and then Tupelo and Brandon respectively.
All right. Well, we are all going to end this segment with wildly different predictions, and that's okay. And so the key for me here is that we have 3 groups, like Ethan said, where this is a get-back comp, right? You have Brandon, you have Homewood, and to a lesser extent, you have Northwest Rankin, who took it on the chin, some people might say, last weekend. And then you have Jackson Prep and Tupelo, who are growing groups and are kind of on the upswing. And then you have Madison Central and Grenada, who have both been a little bit inconsistent these past couple of years, right? Grenada, 2020, 2021, great shows. 2022, 2023, not quite there. So you have this interesting dynamic of not only returning choirs versus debuts for the season, but also of the debuting choirs that are perhaps on the upswing from last year versus choirs that are going to have to make their own momentum at this competition. So I think in my 5th spot, I am going to go Madison Central. I'm going to rev it up here. I think that even though Madison Central is going through a director change, I just don't. I, I don't think that will impact them enough, and I think that, especially knowing that this is such a tough competition, I think Madison Central is going to sneak in there. At the 4, I have Jackson Prep. I believe April James is still there this year. I might be wrong, but I think that Prep was one of the most slept on choirs in the South last year. I'm going to give Prep the recognition I think they deserve. I have them in 4th. In 3rd place, I have Homewood. Not a ton to base them off of in a 3-choir division last week. And Opelika, they don't really make a ton of noise. So just purely based off that, I'm going to rank Homewood 3rd. In 2nd, I'm going to go Tupelo Synergy. Some people are saying this is the year Tupelo is going to win a competition. That's fine. I don't know if I necessarily disagree with that sentiment as a whole. It's not going to be here. I have Brandon getting back. I think that Brandon, if you're going to beat a Titan, whether it be Southern, Midwestern, Western, New England, or whatever, the time to beat a Titan is at the beginning of the season, no later than that. For Brandon, it is no longer the beginning of the season. They had 2 performances to work out the flaws in their show. I have them winning here. On the outside, for me, that leaves Brandon Bellas, that leaves Northwest Rankin, and that leaves Grenada. Who knows? Friend of the show, Bradley Davis, is dropping his Jassy predictions tonight. So go check out Southern Shows on Spotify. And then also, I'm sure the warm-up room is going to be covering this one very extensively as well. So go check out the warm-up room and their coverage of this one too. We're going to go back to Nebraska. We've been talking about Nebraska a lot. Nebraska is the new Iowa for this podcast. We'll get away from them at some point. It's just not going to be this week. We've got the Papillion-La Vista South Titan Classic. This one was the first weekend of January last year. It's the first weekend of February this year. The field in the mixed division, we've got Elkhorn South, Blackout, Gretna Revolution, Hastings Riverside Company, Omaha South, the Ambassadors, St. Francis Bridge Street Singers, and Westside ATSC. We've got a Gretna Westside rematch after 2 weeks ago at Millard West, and you toss Hastings in there off of a 3rd place finish. How does this one play out?
First off, if you haven't already, go check the community predictions because they are already so on point with how this year has been going with the crazy split captions, and I just love that people are catching on. Yeah, and I think it's gonna be another one of those. This comp is gonna be crazy. Having Hastings in there, the community thinks that Hastings is gonna bear the same result they did last week, which is kind of tough for Hastings. But again, Gretna already bested Westside. So if I'm looking at it, the community has Westside with Coria winning it. I almost feel like Westside's going to take it, but it's going to be a sweep. And then I'm going to take Hastings over Gretna. Gretna's falling back a spot to 3rd. So that is a massive drop from where they were 2 weeks ago or so. But again, it's not even hate on them at all because this competition there's a reason why it's on our comps of the week. And then I'm gonna take Omaha. Or no, I'll take Elkhorn South Blackout for sure. They've always been a really good middle of the pack finals choir, and I think they're gonna stay this way. Papillion-La Vista South, and then I'll probably go Omaha South and St. Francis. I'll go with the community on this one. So that's gonna be my prediction for this competition.
Yeah,
Adam, what you got?
Oh my goodness. No, you're right. I'm looking at them now. There is split captions here. But I think it's going to be no split captions this week, and it's because I think Gretna holds on. I really, really do. I watched their show in its entirety. Would recommend if you haven't. It's a great show, and I think they will continue having that visual caption there because of the way that they performed against ATSC. And then I'm also going to hold on to vocals there. I love Hastings, so I would love to be proven wrong, but I'm going to give them the sweep in 1st, and then I'm going to go ahead and favor Hastings in 2nd, and then ATSC in 3rd. And then less controversy from here down. I have Elkhorn South, Omaha South, and St. Francis. So again, those top three, I don't want to call it a toss-up, but it most certainly feels like one looking at the list.
Yeah, we talked about two competitions in the early portion of this podcast that had three spectacular groups up top. For whatever reason, at this point in the season, three is just the number where you get three absolutely elite choirs in one place and you have them battle it out. I'll take Omaha Westside here. I'll go back to what I said 5 minutes ago. If you're going to beat a Titan of show choir, it has got to be at the beginning of the season. It is no longer the beginning of the season for Westside. They had two shows to work out the flaws in their show at Millard West. They had an exhibition at their home competition, which some people treat that more seriously than others. This will probably be a battle of the Stephen Toddler groups up top. We've got Omaha Westside and Gretna. For me, just Omaha Westside's legacy and reputation and tradition of excellence is too much for me to avoid picking them in the win. I'll take them with both captions. I'll give them the choreo and the vocals. I would be more willing to give the choreo up to Gretna or Hastings. I will then I'll take Gretna in second and I'll take Hastings in third, which again, like Ethan said, just sounds absolutely awful to say. But you know what? This is why we do the show choir thing, and this is why we have elite competitions. I'll be the controversial one in the back half here. I'll pick Omaha South above Elkhorn South. I think I'm just going to will Omaha South to better placements until they finally get there. I feel like it's a group that is perpetually just knocking on that door of top tier Nebraska. I will go Elkhorn South at the 5. And I'll actually differ with you guys on the 6 here. I heard from someone who watched St. Francis live at Altoona, and apparently they are a much, much smaller group than they were last year. Total leadership change, director change, choreographer change, everything like that. Show theme that seemed a little bit funky from what my source said. So I'll actually pick Westside Simply Irresistible to get in here at the 6. And even that I'm not entirely sure about because Hastings girls have won every girls division that they've been in back to like mid 2022 or early 2023. So I think ultimately the women's division is also going to be one to watch between Westside and Hastings, but I will take Westside Simply Irresistible to round out the 6. So those are my predictions of Papio South, and we will move from Nebraska a little bit farther east to Missouri. We're going to make our way east to round out the episode here. We've got the Troy Buchanan Show Choir Invitational, and I think at least one of us has experience competing here in the past. In the mixed division, we've got Carthage, Glenwood, Jenks, Millard West, Mount Zion, and Neosho. And then in the single gender, we have got 7 groups total, including men's groups from both Mount Zion and Carthage. These groups fall into a few different categories. Mount Zion and Jenks are making their competition debuts for the season. Glenwood and Millard West are kind of using this as a get back comp after a couple of solid seconds. And then we've got Neosho and Carthage, both very solid southern or western Missouri programs coming to the eastern side of the state. What's going to happen here?
So, if you were listening a few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, I had the pleasure of watching Glenwood as well as Troy and Mount Zion, Troy being the host group. And I'm just going to touch on some things if you weren't here, just to recap, just really fast. So, Mount Zion shows very unique. I think there's some major spots they need to work on though before this competition if they want to grab the gold. Glenwood is a shocker to me. I think Ben Eklund and Nick Brockamp are breathing a new life into this program. I love their arrangements. I love the style of dancing. Yeah, they've been a real shock to me so far this season, even though they're only one comp in. And here's the toughie, Millard West. Like I said on previous comps or shows, I'm a Millard West guy. I love Millard West. They just got second against clearly a really good Lincoln Southwest school, choir resonance. And take it for what it is. At that competition, Mount Zion's director was a judge. So call it scouting, call it being prepared, call that whatever you want. I also think them being Stephen Todd is going to benefit them because this isn't what we call a SEA panel, where a lot of the judges go to SEA and they work at SEA. And plus, Stephen Todd does Troy, so that's also a big plus. And plus, I know he has. There's a lot of pluses, but I know he has. He has judged this competition tons before. So, and plus, he's a great choreographer. And then there's Neosho, who's undefeated in Missouri. The only knock on them is this is going to be the toughest competition they're doing. so far this season. But again, they always know how to win in Missouri, so you can't count them out. And I don't know much about Jinx personally. I just know that they're one of those titans in the lower half of Missouri, and they always
They're
claim
actually from Oklahoma.
that. I blew that hand up, hand up,
They
hand up,
compete
hand up.
in Missouri a
All
lot,
the
though,
time. So
just
oh,
for
I'm
where it is.
sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But yeah, I don't get much Jinx content for where I am, but I know they're a good choir. So my predictions. Some might hate me for this, but I'm gonna go Millard West W with best vocals, and I'm gonna go down to Mount Zion Twin Station second with no captions, and then I'm gonna go Glenwood with best choreo, best band in the third hole, and then I'm gonna go Neo Show in the four. I know some people think Jinx is gonna get that spot, but I think Neo Show, they've proven they can win competitions, that they can compete. So I'm gonna hand this one to Neo Show above Jinx. Jinx will be in the five spot. And in the sixth spot, I think it's going to go up to Mount Zion Les Femmes, who they have a really cool Barbie show this year. So whenever that video comes out, please check it out. But again, you can also maybe throw in a bone for Mount Zion You've Got Mail, because they're one of the best men's choirs in the country. And I think that they always kind of like tug some heartstrings at the judges every now and then just for being fun and energetic and having a good time on stage. So yeah, I have Millard West taken with best vocals.
So I kind of line up with that there. I also do think we're gonna see Wig in first with vocals, but I have swings in second with choreo. So I mean, you've seen it, I haven't. You have a little more insight here. You're a swings alum, but I feel good. I feel good placing them there. I feel like it's fairly safe. And then, not to knock on Glenwood at all, and I am really really excited to see them work with this new Ben Eklund choreography. Love him and all the work that he does. So I also have Neo Show coming in fourth. Um, appreciate their strength in Missouri. I'm really excited to see them stack up against some of these Illinois groups and even Millard West too. So that'll be cool. And then I think Carthage will take that bottom spot. I think we'll see all across. I think we'll just see a pretty vanilla tier one mixed finals here. How about you, Will?
You know, there's not a lot that you guys haven't said that I'm thinking about, so I'll just run straight down here with my predictions. Give me swings with all three big major captions at the top. Millard West at the 2, Glenwood 3, Neosho 4, Carthage 5, Jenks 6. I think ultimately Jenks is just the biggest question mark here. We've seen a couple of large groups get off to not the hottest start in the world, so I think I'll just put Jenks at the bottom. I don't think there are going to be any single gender groups that break into the main finals. Our last competition that we're going to cover here is the Waukee Northwest Nightfall. So we are in Iowa now. So the mixed lineup, we've got Ankeny Centennial Spectrum as well as Vortex, their women's group that is competing in the mixed division. We've got Cedar Rapids Jefferson Westside Delegation, Iowa City High 4th Avenue Jazz Company, Urbandale Studio, Waukee Millennium, and Van Meter Vocal Locomotion.
So just going off, we only have like one more minute left of this show, but I just think that this is gonna be a real fun comp. It's one that I'm continuously just gonna check in on and seeing people in the comment sections at showquare.com and seeing how they're enjoying it and how amazing these shows are gonna be, because um I also have no idea how this is gonna go. But I see this being a split caption. Um who, where, what, when, I don't know. But this is the order I have it. I think Urbandale is going to take it. It's also really tough because with Inky Centennial taking that best show design from Linmar, I was in love with Linmar show design. So I don't even know how much better it gets than that. So it's really scary putting Urbandale above them, but I have faith in Urbandale. Like I said, Inky Centennial Spectrum will be in second for me. I'm going to take Waukee, even though they haven't performed in a while. That's also a big question mark, but like you said, they had a sweep a little bit ago, so I'm just gonna roll with that. And then Iowa City, I know they had a big upset win this past week, but against some of these upper tier choirs, I think they're just gonna fall short of that fourth. They're gonna fall short and they're gonna end up in that fourth spot. And I'm gonna get Ankeny Vortex. I don't know much about them, but they're from Ankeny Centennial, so I just know it's gonna be a great show. And I'm gonna end up with Cedar Rapids Jefferson in the last spot.
Adam, I see those eyes. They're thinking eyes. What's going on?
Well, I'm just thinking about the repercussions of me putting Vortex in third here. And so hold on, I see those faces. I love Vortex. And I believe this is their first year in action, even if they don't make finals, I will always be the one and only, the one in a million of any group of Vortex fans you'll ever find. I saw them. I watched their exhibition, and it was delightful. The show design was so creative, costumes were gorgeous, and they sang and danced so well. So I won't defer too much. I'll be quick here. We got Studio, Sweep, Spectrum, um, Vortex, Millennium, and then I think we'll see Iowa City continue their streak over Cedar Rapids, Jeff, and I like that for my lineup at Waukee
I
Northwest.
low-key love that, Adam. I low-key love that.
Yeah, so this one is just so tough because, like you guys both talked about Vortex, they were right behind Spectrum last week at Prairie. Ankeny Centennial went 2 and 3 at Prairie, and then you factor in Waukee, who hasn't competed since January 6th, but that was a full sweep at Des Moines Christian, and then you have Urbandale, who seems to just quietly be there everywhere. Every time they compete, they just seem to quietly be
All the
there.
time.
Big win over Waukee Northwest a couple weeks ago. Cool deal. I think I'm going to take Urbandale here. I'll take Urbandale with choreography, and then Waukee with vocals. And then I'll take Spectrum at the 3, Vortex at the 4, 4th Avenue Jazz Company at the 5. And then I'm really split as to whether I put Cedar Rapids Jefferson or Urbandale's prep group in here at the 6.
Yeah, I was gonna say their prep group was phenomenal.
I think ultimately I trust Cedar Rapids Jefferson's show to grow enough throughout these past few weeks to put them ahead of Urbandale's prep group. So I will also have Westside delegation in 6th here.
Ooh, it'll be a bad look if Urbandale doesn't take this one out. All three of us picking Urbandale.
They're so reliable. I would be shocked.
Well,
But this is the week for Vortex.
we will have to see how it plays out. Thank you everybody for sticking around, especially if you stuck it out through a majority of the show here. We've got a lot of content coming out on homeroomshowchoir.com this week, so head over there for absolutely all of your show choir content needs. This upcoming weekend is one of the busiest weekends of the show choir season, so whether you're competing, whether you're spectating, please make sure to enjoy it. And we have a fairly new look episode coming at you next week, so be on the lookout for that next week, Monday. This has been episode 5 of Show Choir Nation. If you missed the first half of this live, we will be on Spotify and YouTube later tonight as well. I am William. For my co-hosts Ethan and Adam, have a great show choir week and show choir Saturday, everybody.